Hello, everybody. Give you all a few seconds to finish tuning in live. We're going to start our June ITDUG, IT Documentations Users Group meeting right away. Today, we have a guest with us, Victor Raison from SalesBuildr, and we're going to talk about documenting and streamlining your sales process. So let's throw the slides up and get going. First off, a little bit about ITDUG. We are a community of like-minded folks trying to get better at IT documentation. You can find us on Facebook, Reddit, and YouTube. We have all these past webinars at the Eureka Process YouTube link. So hope to see you there. Or if you're catching this after the fact, you can find all the past ones on YouTube. I love to talk a little bit about history. Our founder was Tracy Harden, who is an MSP out of Kentucky. She created this group in May of 2018. She was originally struggling with IT glue and trying to get some community help with it. And then she asked me to co-admin in August 2018. We opened it up to all platforms. We could talk about documentation as a whole to attract more minds, more solutions to documentation platforms and how to document IT. And we're now over 5,100 members strong. Please keep inviting, because the more brains we have, the smarter we get. A little bit about me. I started a company called Eureka Process back in 2018 as well. We give advice to IT businesses on being better businesses. I'm one of the admins of ITDUG. I've written a book about process. I've spoken on stages before about processes in IT. And I'm a serial entrepreneur. There's a list of my active businesses down there right now. Little on the crazy side to do that many. I don't recommend it for all, but that's where I speak from. Is I want to make businesses better. I love this stuff, and I think processes are a key to making businesses sustainable, so that you can enjoy your life or enjoy other businesses on top of your IT business. Our guest today is Victor. I've known him from the channel for a few years, a couple of other ventures, but he has founded SalesBuildr and is a former MSP owner with over 2 decades of experience in the industry, and I'm happy to have him on the show. Welcome, Victor.
Hey, Alan. Good to see you.
Likewise. I love talking geography for a second. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Amsterdam, where it's very hot right now. I think it's 86 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And sweaty.
I'm jealous. We're going to have trouble breaking 60 today, and I'm calling out of Vancouver, Canada.
There you go.
All across the world, coming to you live. All right. So I want to dive in and talk a little bit about process. So first off, when it comes to sales, I love talking about what I call the proven process. This is maybe a bit of a tangent, but I just like to lay out to my clients, to my prospective clients, that when we're on a sales mission with them, you see here there's various pieces and it leads to a circle, that we're on a path. So every time they talk to me, when we talk about you, about us, their needs and goals, and are we a good fit, that they need to know that there's an agreement coming next. And then after the agreement, there's these other things that we do, which does a couple of things for me. One, people buy from people they know and trust. And how do you build trust with somebody you don't know? And my answer is create lots of little small promises that you meet, whether it's showing up to a meeting on time, doing a follow-up on time, or showing them that, oh yeah, you did do these things. And now you're showing me this proven process. And I see that there's a path in front of me that's going to lead to the opinion that, hey, you've done this before, you must be professional. And the fact that every time we speak, they know they're heading toward the sale. They know they're heading toward an engagement. And Victor, this might be the first time I've shared this with you. Do you have thoughts on the concept of using a proven process to build trust and professionalism in sales?
Yeah, I mean, success leaves clues, as they say, right? So I think it's this is like a nice framework where you have a place to put all the lessons that you learn by doing things lots of times and failing lots of times, and then reflecting on that failing to to think about, okay, what am I going to do next to make this have a different outcome?
Right. And I, by the way, I don't think I've ever heard that phrase before, and I love it. That success leaves clues. I might have to build that into my own sales presentations. But yeah, and this is that clue to your potential buyer that you have done this before, that I am a professional. And I think a lot of the other tips and tricks we have coming forward too are also even more clues to show that you have an established way of doing business because this way works. And when you're the guy who knows what works, you're the expert in the room, which is going to lead to more closed sales.
Yeah, that's a plan, for sure.
So before you put somebody into your sales process, we got to figure out who to put in there first. And here's where the dreaded ICP comes in, the ideal client profile. Now, I know for a lot of newer businesses tuning in, anybody who writes a check could be an ideal client. Why might that be a bad idea?
Well, this is one of my favorite topics because it's so important and it's so easy to mess this up. Because when you talk about the ICP or the ideal client, I mean, especially when you're starting out, or if you're growing a business, somebody knocks on the door and says, "Here's a thing I want solved, and here's a bag of money. Can you help me out?" It's very hard to say no.
I love bags of money.
Right. So, but the ideal client profile, I mean, if you get it right, it really helps your business scale. And I think the other thing is right about the ICP is it also helps you in your being a beacon for the outside world. And what I mean by that is if your ICP is way too broad, like I'm catering to everybody in the world, then you speak to nobody, is my opinion.
So when you use the word beacon, it's kind of like the difference of being a light bulb versus being a spotlight shining right at that person that you want.
Exactly, because that's what we do today. This is also being a beacon, right? We're around the world, we're broadcasting into the world, and we're talking about a specific topic that resonates with a specific audience. And we're being very narrow here because it's about documentation, it's about sales, it's about the IT industry.
An exercise that I learned to do a while back to help show the power of being specific is let's test this on you, Victor, and watch me fail. Victor, I would like for you to give me a name of somebody you know.
Sure. A name is going to be Glenn.
Glenn. All right. That took you 13 seconds.
Yeah.
Now, what is the name of your mother?
Honey.
That took 1 second. And the difference was specificity, right? The more specific you are, the easier you are to self-identify or identify somebody else. I actually used to use this to teach how to give leads and referrals. Ask for somebody specific. Specific always does better, as my scientific experiment proved this time.
Yeah, that's a great trick. Yeah, that's a good one. And it's about being specific, and it's also about having focus.
Yeah, and the more focused you are, the easier it is to build your processes around it as well. Because if you have a specific demographic, you can pre-use the right language. You know how their workflows work. You're going to appear even more professional.
Yes, and it's also much more easy for your target audience to find you. And
exactly,
and to care about you, because now you speak their language and you use their tonality, and you know about their pain points, and you know about their seasonality in their business. And there's a lot of things you can do the narrower you get.
All right. So last piece on this, just to quiz you again, Victor. What is your ICP?
For us, our ICP is you're an MSP that works with either Autotask or ConnectWise, and you have a sales team.
All right. I mean, well said, relatively specific. Even the sales team piece probably narrows you down to about 20% of the MSP space out there.
Yeah.
And the product mix, limits it a bit more. So that's fairly specific. Good job. You passed your own test. So let's move into some other sales process tips. This one, I hear a lot of pundits talking about all the time, which is to standardize your offerings. This doesn't necessarily mean, one way or the highway. But I have found that the more highly focused you are, and I'll just leave it my fun acronym on the screen for what focus means. Getting one thing right well, and then you can move on to a second and third and fourth thing. But in the terms of the sales process and what you were showing me with SalesBuildr too, it was documenting your portfolio. And Victor, you personally helped onboard us onto SalesBuildr as well. And I didn't realize how important this was. We have 3 or 4 different consulting products, but then we sat there and we got rid of the other 55 SKUs that we had. We picked the 4 that we worked, and we were able to really spend that time focusing on, okay, make this SKU present the way we want to present to clients, to have all the right bullet points, to have all the pricing preset. What are some other experiences you have with MSPs when it comes to documenting your portfolio and the power that presents?
Well, I mean, the one thing it kind of forces you to do is to take a look into your business from the outside. And I have the same thing. I started out as an MSP, so we tend to do things from the inside out, right? So
Yeah.
we are more technical, but the customer doesn't really care, because the customer is looking for the outcome. And we all know the example of, you sell the hole, not the drill, or, you sell the feeling of looking at the picture hanging on the wall instead of the drill or instead of the hole. And it depends on the person. But I think the key thing is that you have to go from outside in. So you have to look through the eyes of your customer into your business or onto your menu card to simplify it even more. And then what's on the menu? So, and then the more clear and the more specific and the more outcomes you can describe and you can put on there, the more it's going to resonate with the customer and with your team inside, because it's going to help both.
I don't know if others have this, but I have found that some of my team, where we were all selling, and my clients too, we're all selling the same services, the same products internally, but we might decide to write different paragraphs about what they do or what the value proposition is differently, almost diluting our brand sometimes. And I love the idea of just documenting like what's in our stack, what's in our portfolio specifically, what's our value, and making sure that we all do it the same.
Yeah. So consistency, because it's also key to scaling up or to training new hires, is if you're all consistent and you're all doing the same thing, it's also much easier to strive towards mastery. Right.
Yeah, and consistency is the key to automation as well.
Yes. So the consistency, standardization, automating, scaling. That scaling part too. If you're growing as a company, the more standardized and automated you are, the easier it is going to be to scale up. And the more fragmented you are, the harder, the bigger the pain you're going to encounter. If you get more people on the team or more customers, you're gonna slow down.
Just work harder.
More than you might like. Yeah.
Very good. And another enlightening one, when you and I were talking earlier about this, was in your sales process, the methods that you use to research how you're doing with your existing sales. And you mentioned this, your word for it was white space because of the type of report that you can run, which I've seen. But the client penetration graph, I used to make a spreadsheet just to tell people what client penetration is. Spreadsheet, left column was all my client names. Across the top was every service that I offered. At the time it might have been, antivirus, EDR, backup of cloud services, whatever those things are. Yep. And you put a little mark by every service they had. And then, as you described it to me, the white space where you don't have a mark is an opportunity. So how would you design that system? Tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, getting that practice in your business, I think, is one of the best things you can do. And I don't think most MSPs do this by default. I don't think they are. A, because it's hard to get the data out of the systems. B, it's hard to present it in a meaningful way so that it makes sense and it's actionable. And C, everybody's too busy.
Right.
So
even if you have these reports, how do you leverage that to call on those clients? What does that sales call look like?
Well, I think once you get the insights, and then what do you want to do with the insight is, okay, let's say you have like this gold standard of services in your MSP or in your IT business, right? And you want to sell this gold standard to all of your customers, and you want to see which of my customers don't have the gold standard, and what's the gap between that and what they have today, and then you want to visualize that, and then you want to take action, as in zooming in on one specific customer, reaching out to them, and then you want to have a story about, hey, you're missing 3 out of the 10 of what we think are essential services for your business. Let me tell you why and how this is impacting your business, or this can impact your business down the line. And that ties in again to your portfolio, because those
Right.
3 out of the 10 items on your gold standard are your service descriptions or items in your portfolio. You thought about it, and now it's easy to explain to your customer what the risk is or what the missed opportunity is when it comes to outcomes that are relevant for them.
And it's typically easier to sell to existing clients anyway. So this is almost free money.
For sure, because everybody's focused on getting that new logos in the door. While I think 80% of the MSPs will have lots of opportunities for existing and new services inside their customer base. For sure.
Right.
It's just tilting the focus a bit.
All these tools are amazing ways to increase your revenue coming in. But we also have to focus on those new clients coming in. And we have to have processes and systems for managing every lead that comes in, determining who's talked to them last, what stage they're at. Do you have ideal system designs? How do you normally document this process?
I don't think there's an ideal. I think there's a template you can use to start off with, and then there's a discussion to be had. I think what's important is to think about how can we simplify the admin work that goes into it, because salespeople typically don't like administrative work. So
Yeah.
I've seen from the one side of the spectrum to the other side of the spectrum, like with the one side being overly complex to having nothing at all. I've seen both cases, but I think it's about choosing the balanced one, where you simplify your sales cycles, and you pick the essential things that you want to track, such as opportunity category. What convention do we do for opportunities? Do we track the size of the opportunity, the source of the opportunity? Those are some of the basics that you need to have in place to be able to look back in time and say, where are we good at? Where do we suck at? And where do we double down on? And what lessons can we pull from the data based on these 5 data points?
So I heard 2 things there then. One, I heard my trigger word of simplify. And the secret to simplify is 2 words, necessary and sufficient. You really want to ask yourself, do I need this point of data, or am I just creating more admin work? And do I have everything that I need? Of course. Also, the fact that you're doing a data analysis on this by having sales cycles and stages. Obviously there's some form of to be contacted, some form of you're in some contact, and in my case, for example, I have follow-ups in all those stages, but also follow-ups that I've already sent an agreement out for review. Being able to see that, and you're talking about recording your success rates at each stage or progression from stage to stage. So that's your drawing a blank of the name. What's that rate called? Conversion rate.
Your win rate, conversion rate. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, conversion rate from stage to stage. And it's if you start out with 100 leads and you get 50% of them to the next stage and 50% of them to a quote, 50% of those buy, next thing you know, you have 12.5% remaining that you've sold. And that data is important.
Yes, because you need to be able to quantify, and you also need to be able to plan ahead, right? If you want to make a 3-year plan, and you are clueless about these numbers,
Yeah.
it's very hard to make a plan.
Yeah, even if you don't know how to improve the numbers, if you know that for every 100 prospects that come in, 12 clients come out, okay, well, how many clients do you need? How many prospects do you have to put in?
Yes, and that's essential because, and then also like the sources are, I think the opportunity sources are very interesting, because if you do different things, if you do ads, and if you do maybe lunch and learns, and maybe you do an ad in the paper, or you do flyers or whatever, you want to be able to, or referrals, you want to be able to see, okay, what's successful and what isn't.
So make sure to design your pipeline to capture that source as well.
Yes. And the other thing would be maybe category, opportunity category.
Like, and by category, is that like what line of business they're in, or?
Could be line of business, but could also be related to your portfolio, where a category could be like a simple quote for hardware, or it's going to be managed services contracts, or
in security,
or project, or security. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Very good. And then to the part that's to me the easiest to understand, and I've already seen this work so well recently in our own business, which is standardizing the presentation of these proposals. And when I say standardize, it's not just the proposal itself, but even the emails that go with the proposals, the follow-ups, how the products looked, suggestive selling add-ons. Is it just adding a mouse pad to an HP laptop or a desktop? These little things can matter. And by templatizing them, you make it easy to do, easy to remember to do, giving you more opportunities. What are some other thoughts, Victor?
Well, one major thing in this is the way I like to think about it is, you have your marketing funnel, right? So it's your website, it's your advertising, it's everything they come into contact with your business. And you have a certain look and feel and a brand experience in your marketing funnel. And at some point, that customer decides to reach out to you and have a conversation, and hopefully that will become an opportunity, and hopefully that will become a proposal, and hopefully they will approve the proposal. And I think you want to have the same consistency and brand and look and feel and experience in your sales cycle as you give them in the marketing funnel, because that also creates trust and the same consistency. And it's 2024. They also want a modern experience, and they don't want to have this great advertising and a slick website, and then you can send out a proposal that looks like it's from the 90s.
I may have been guilty of that myself in the past. We've recently templatized our quotes in our emails.
Yes.
And the biggest benefit I have, and again, we're not directly an MSP anymore, but I've been working on this ourselves, is any of my staff can send a proposal now, and it looks the same quality that I would have sent.
That's good.
Yeah, and that's really helped free up time for everybody. Other people feel empowered to even offer to send a proposal now, which is already increasing our opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's important. And as you say, you want this consistency through every customer contact moment, because it's all contact moments. Sending the quote, sending the email, checking the website, follow-up emails. That the stories you tell inside your proposals. Maybe you want to include a video about your organization. You want to also humanize your company. Right? It's important, because I don't know about you, but if I want to do business with a company and it's all anonymized and stock photo on the website, it's kind of a turnoff.
Yeah,
because we all say, well, people buy from people, and then that you don't buy from stock photo models. Right.
Well, like you even mentioned video, which scares the crap out of me. I do a lot of videos, but I have to psych myself up to get in front of the camera. But if I can templatize that makes that burden a whole lot easier to stomach.
That's a great point. You're doing a really great job, by the way. But as you say, if you can record it and then insert it now, and everybody in your team can send out the same story, that's pretty powerful. Yeah.
Very good. And then I believe this is the last part of our process slides. We also got to build in some safety nets, some guardrails to make sure we always comply with our processes and rules. Is an approval process in these guardrails, or are we really just making it too hard for salespeople to make sales, or is this a necessary step?
I think it's a necessary step
And why
because
is that?
because well, I mean, everybody can send out a quote for a laptop bag, and I don't think that's a biggie. But once you get to a certain deal size, or once you get to a certain complexity inside the proposal where your reputation is at stake, right? Because it's about some serious security solution, you want to have not 2 but 4 eyes on the process and the thing that you promise to your customer, and make sure the kit list is in order and everything will work technically. So you want to be able to mark that into when your proposal contains these items from my portfolio, or is about this opportunity category. I want to check it before it leaves the door. Similar, like if you get new teammates in your company in the first 3 months, you might want to check every proposal that goes out the door.
Yeah.
Just to help coach them to do the right thing and learn from if they make a mistake.
So make sure your process and systems have that mechanism built into them to continue to maintain quality as you scale. We've all heard stories of businesses that start to fail because of scaling, right? They grow too big, too fast, it becomes a problem. An approval process can help. So just real quick, other things to standardize, payment terms, contract terms. This goes back to templatizing. Does the client have an approval process that we need to capture as well? Or maybe you're in a sector where there's a very common type of client approval. Get that documented and followed, or automate it in your systems. All little pieces to standardize. One thing I did during our introduction is I said you were a SalesBuildr, but I didn't give anybody a chance to know what SalesBuildr does or why that might make you an expert in terms of sales process. Can you explain a little bit about what SalesBuildr is and how you solve some of these problems?
Sure. SalesBuildr is pretty simple to explain. It makes the sales team more effective. And we do that by using standardization, automation, and templatizing over everything you do in your sales process. So this is about your companies and your contacts, the insights in terms of the white space, and then taking action into creating those opportunities, creating those proposals based on standard templates, and your portfolio that's also standardized in SalesBuildr. So everything that you see here, all these styles, is you create a system, you templatize the system, you use business rules to make sure everyone on the team can be consistent, and it pushes everything back into your PSA system automatically for you, and it minimizes the manual average you have to do across that whole sales process.
Yeah, I know that I thought I was fancy with my template for our agreements, and I put it in DocuSign, and I had some variables in there, and it took me a while to develop it. But I still had to customize the DocuSign every time and change which ones for which product, and it was a pain in the butt. And we tried out SalesBuildr with you a few months ago, and now I log on, I select which product I told them I'd recommend, but they still have the option to change it, and I click send. I'm done in 2 minutes now. It's been great.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah, we like to remove all that friction out of the process because we hate it too.
And we have one question I might have to clarify from Brendan in here, but until then, how could somebody learn a little more about SalesBuildr after the call?
Well, you can go to the website salesbuildr.com. You can start a free trial. You can book a demo from our website. Pretty much everything is on our website. Resources, a link to our knowledge base, videos, explainers. So that's a pretty good resource to dive into.
So Brendan's asking, what does client penetration look like? And maybe
Sure.
I'm asking for a lot, but are you able to pop up a screen share? Maybe show us what it looks
sure.
like.
I can share my screen. There you go. So this is what it looks like inside SalesBuildr. So there's basically, you have your rows where you have your customers, and you can sort by monthly revenue. And why you want to do that is you want to focus on the biggest customers first. Then you see the columns, and the columns are basically your categories of services that you sell. If you're an MSP, you recognize, okay, minus 365, Microsoft 365, SaaS, security, voice over IP. And what we see here is that some customers have green tiles and others have blanks, white space. So you want to go into that white space, and you want to sell there, right? So let's say you want to sell a service called SaaS protection, right? Now that will show you, okay, so this customer does not have SaaS protection. So you can create a opportunity and a proposal here for that customer based on a template, right? So the only thing I have to do is pick the right contact, click on the button, and now I've created an opportunity and a proposal for that specific service for that specific customer to fill in that gap. That's one thing you can do. You can slice and dice.
And now I can see why it's called the white space, because you have all the color, and then there's just the white blanks that we have to go sell into now.
That's it. Yeah. So it enables your sales team to apply focus, right? To focus on those services that are the most profitable, to those customers that have the highest spend. And then that's where you want to apply your focus into. You only have so many hours in a day. That's going to move the needle.
Right. I like this very much. Thank you. Thank you for showing us that. We are just a little bit over time today, Victor. Thank you so much for helping us through some sales processes. I've learned a lot today. I've been excited about the SalesBuildr tool for the last few months. So glad to have you on in ITDUG.
Thanks for having me on. It was fun. It was a fun conversation.
Absolutely. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Our next webinar is going to be July 24th, which is the fourth Wednesday of the month. I believe third Wednesday. It's 26, whichever one that is. 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, and we're going to cover the process. You know, you have all these processes. How do you get organized? How do you get started? And I will be leading that one as author of the book Process and the Other P Word, where we cover just that. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all next month. So have a great one, everyone. Bye.